we talk about that a change of pace plus a change of place equals a change of perspective. And so that's why I go to various conferences and GoBundance events and things like that, because it does often give that different change up on perspective and helps us to zoom out. And so to be able to do that individually as family members and then also together as a family was a great experience.
No, I really like that. Change of pace plus change of place equals a different perspective. Change of perspective. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
If only I was there for it. I know. But we did. We went out to Montana last summer for it, and it was just a lot of fun watching the boys light fires and go do things. It just, absolutely love it. But so tell me, as you're building all this stuff out and you're doing all these things, what is your next level of pure and actual involvement in the business that you want them to do? Or actually, let me rephrase this. I think I want to go a different direction. What have your kids expressed interest in inside the business in wanting to do next inside the family business stuff?
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out exactly. My daughter just really enjoys working. She's a hard worker, and she loves going with her mom to the toy store. She loves running the register. She loves helping unpack merchandise, and she is a worker. My son is just different as kids are, and he enjoys more hearing and learning about the actual business principles, talking about, again, that stuff like margins and different things that are interesting. And so I think he has more of he's looking for hacks. I think that, it's sometimes I think that he may enjoy business or pursue something that way just because he doesn't want to have to go get a real job. I don't say that in a disparaging way. I don't either. He sees us working hard, and so hopefully we're building that work ethic as well. My daughter seems to have a little less interest at this time. Again, she's 11 years old. In having a small business or something. She's talking about more traditional career tracks like nursing or teaching or something like that. But what is important to me is that they at least understand it. And if they consciously choose that they feel that their calling and their life's work is doing something that would require them to be a W-2 employee, then I'm going to, of course, be supportive in that. But I also hope that they go into it like eyes wide open and they understand what we do, why we do it, the benefits of doing it, and they definitely see the drawbacks of doing it as well. And so I want them to totally get the small business thing. And then similarly, like from a real estate standpoint, I also say my daughter wants to become a teacher. I would support that, but I think would encourage her to buy up a little bit of real estate and to help enhance her income and her wealth generating capacity from that perspective, and to see that opportunity and to be able to take that and run with it and use what she's learned or use me as a resource to help her navigate that process, whether it's house hacking or buying a rental or being part of some sort of opportunity that way. So I think that there's lots of opportunities we want to expose them to, and then what they do with that is ultimately, of course, up to them.
Nice. Yeah. I do my best not to force it down, like wherever, and I say that as I'm saying all these things that I'm even going to include in their school. But but at the same point, again, I want them to be exposed to it. Like I want to find their interest, and I love that you have noticed the difference between your two kids' interest and what motivates them one way or another. Because we can, that's one of the things I love about the idea of homeschooling is I can tailor to where they're at and what their desires are, what they want to learn. Like if all of a sudden they want to learn about Egyptian history for the next month, we could dig deep into Egyptian history. It's not, okay, well, that's this week's lesson. Next week is something else. Like, no, what the heck? We can dig into this. This is one of the things you're interested in. Let's dig into it. Let's learn, If learning about margins and supply and demand is what you want to learn, then guess what? Let's do it. If you want to learn about whatever, I mean, I think that's awesome. Do you think that what were the signs necessarily, or is it more just evident just in general, like that you said, okay, well, I think that Olivia is going to go down this path and Emerson is going down this path. Did you catch on to some of that a lot earlier, just in their ethic as younger kids, or was it more like, hey, as they grew up, they were just like, boy, I hate that, and like, was it more conversational that we got to expose this stuff, or just through experience that you got to expose this stuff?
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. I mean, I would say that it's especially been showing up over the last few years that we talk about it. We openly discuss do you think you'd be interested in having a small business, or do you think that rental properties are of interest to you, and just asking those questions, and it's pretty typically like my son is like, well, yeah, I think I'd like to do that. It sounds really, really interesting. And my daughter's just kind of like, nah, probably not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But again, I think I'm not allowing that to crush me or anything by any means. I mean, first of all, again, it's her decision, but also, how many kids have you heard that, I've heard the story tens of times, dozens of times, where people that have been involved in small business, they swear off that they're never going to be involved in the family business. They go off to college, they move out of state, and then they're like the prodigal son or something, where they're like, you know what, I would have it really good, being part of the family business. And I actually do kind of like hanging out with my parents. So we could maybe work together or whatever. And then they come back full circle. I've got a few different friends that have told me that exact story, almost verbatim. That they're like, I had no desire to be part of it. And then I went out into the world, and then I decided I actually like living around my hometown, and I like working as part of the family business. So they come back around. So those are neat experiences. It
goes back to that, we're so wise when we're teenagers and we know everything, and then you get out in the real world and you realize, well, I don't know anything. I completely understand why they're doing what they're doing now. And I totally want to be a part of the family business. But I haven't, again, 8 and 4, the 3-month-old, obviously I'm excluding as part of this particular portion of the conversation because she has, there's nothing exposed right now other than the fact that she likes to eat and sleep.
Me too.
But yeah, I know, I'm already tired. I don't quite know where the boys are fitting in yet, still trying to feel it out. And I always fear that if I talk too much about certain things that I'm going to start forcing in a certain direction, and I don't want that to be the case. Because I get excited. I like to talk about business. I like to talk about what I'm doing. I like to show them things. And, I don't want it to get to the point where they're like, Dad, never again. I don't want to hear this, because I want them to learn it. But there is always that fear that it's too much, that they're going to be just, feel like they're being forced into it or something. And I never want that to be the case. I want them to make their own decisions. So
it is a fine line, I think, where you just gotta. It's hard to know. I mean, it's like so many things in parenting. There's no perfect black and white answer, but what's fascinating is what kids pick up on, perceive, and hear just in the course of being around you. If you're talking about business, if they overhear you on the phone, if you're talking with your wife about a business deal or a problem team member or something like that. And I mean, my kids pick up on it all the time. I don't think that they are. They'll mention something later. So it's interesting just being around it. They're picking it up. And then, I think it's hard to know exactly how much education is appropriate, but I think we probably sound like both err a little bit on the side of it's going to be good for you to learn about it. And what you do with it as time goes on is up to you, but this is a big part of our family life. And, let alone the fact that perhaps there may be a day where you are called upon to steward the assets that we have acquired, and you need to have the wisdom, the character, and the education to be able to handle that, or else it will crush you. And so from that perspective, I do think that it's important that they learn at least the basics. Again, they don't need to maybe be in all the weeds of all the different things, but I believe strongly that as much of my job, if things go as we plan, we're going to build some wealth over our lifetime, and we're still deciding and kind of evolving on our thought process with what we're going to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a point in time likely that our kids will have access to some of that, and I don't want it to be a hindrance. We haven't worked so hard and tried to be wise all this time and through our lives to just allow it to be a curse to our kids because they don't know how to handle it, or they don't have the character to handle it.